morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to our session today on the role of regions and local authorities at the forefront of the recovery process. As we all know, the COVID crisis has evidenced some vulnerability of our economic system, calling for a major effort to achieve a green and digital future for Europe. We strongly believe that regions and local actors have a strategic role in the recovery and the green and digital transition in Europe by setting up policy priorities, but also mobilizing different funds. Therefore, we need to involve regional actors closely in the implementation of the resilience and recovery funds. Here, the European Committee of the Regions has also an important role to play. It is aware of the specific challenges regions and cities are facing, and they can support them in setting up their regional recovery strategies. A very good example is the Horizon Europe missions that represent an opportunity for regions and cities to play an important role in co-creating the solutions to key challenges, which are instrumental for the recovery. It is clear that cities and regions are the natural environment for deployment of these solutions. We had on the 22nd of June a very interesting discussions with stakeholders and the Committee of Regions on how the regional authorities and the local authorities could be involved in the development of missions. So we expect the regions to play an important role there. Today's discussions, though, it will focus on the important contributions that regions can make to the implementation of the recovery and resilience plans, and what has to be done to actively include them in this endeavor. I'm extremely happy today that we have with us Commissioner Gabriel, our Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, as well as the first Vice President of the European Committee of the Region, Mr. Cordeiro. Dear Commissioner, I would like to start the first question to you. We know that research and innovation will play a crucial role for Europe's recovery, and you already highlighted earlier that the recovery and resilience plans submitted by member states are research and innovation rich, which is a very good result. What do you think that the role of the regions will be in this context?
Thank you very much, dear Anna. And I would like to say, first of all, that I'm really very glad to participate in this panel together with our distinguished panelists, because you know that the crucial role of regions, not only in the recovery, but in our European future, it's a topic very close to my heart. So I would like really to start by saying that Europe can be more effective and globally relevant if we are working together with our regions and with our local authorities, of course, with our member states too. But I cannot stress more that involving territories in a bottom-up process of research and innovation is crucial, and it provides a decisive contribution to ensuring sustainable recovery and for making the green and digital transitions a reality. And this should include, that's my first message, all European regions, including rural and remote areas. And first, I believe too that the expertise of our regions and cities is crucial for Europeans' recovery, because even during the crisis, during the COVID-19 crisis, European regions have developed and adopted regional recovery strategies. They reallocated European resources to achieve more resilient economies and societies. So I think that here first we need to take some lessons learned and to see how regional measures have proved to be key to ensure place-based approach and that nobody is left behind. And it is important now, yes, that regions and local authorities get clear messages on how to contribute to the recovery process, because decisions must be taken as close as possible to our citizens if we want effective solutions to answer people's needs, and we are fully aware the regions and cities are closest to the citizens. Now, the recovery plans can be a success if regional and local authorities are also involved in their preparation and implementation. This is why it is important to cooperate and coordinate with you in this recovery process, fully taking into account the territorial impact your experience and your knowledge on what's happened on the ground, what are the real needs of our citizens. And as such, here I would like to stress the important role of our joint action plan together with the Committee of the Regions. Vice President, I'm so glad that you are with us. I think that first in November last year, we sent a very strong signal, first ever joint action plan between our institutions, but that means that we are not only decided to define common strategic objectives, we are decided to contribute with concrete and very adequate actions on the ground in our regions where things are happening. And here I must say that since the adoption of the action plan, the collaboration with the Committee of the Regions has intensified. Just allow me to give you a few examples. First, we are talking this morning about the European Research Area. And yes, I'm so glad that the Committee of the Regions is engaged in this process about the new European Research Area, because you know that we have an observer status in the ERA Forum for Transition, and here we very much count on you, because you know that our objective is not only to reaffirm our values, but to see how together we can achieve strategic objectives. And here, given your interest on ERA hubs, I must say that we are very glad that the Committee of the Regions is actively involved in the study of our knowledge ecosystems, providing views and advice. Because what we need here to continue to cherish together with you, it's our ecosystem approach. We are not talking only about research, innovation, and education. We are talking about the ecosystem. That's the real strong base for our societies and economies to succeed in the digital and green transitions and to thrive. Secondly, Anna, you mentioned the Horizon Europe missions. Again, here I reiterate my plea. Please continue to be involved, because actually in 1 year what we have seen after our last edition of the R&I Days, remember in September 2020, that was the preparatory phase, that was the reports. Now we are preparing the implementation plans. And what we need is your knowledge, your experience, because remember, if you'd like to succeed with our missions, we need to convince our citizens and we need to inspire our citizens. Who else than you knows better how to inspire, to involve, to engage them? So I very much count on you. Finally, I think that you know another topic close to my heart, it's about synergies. Because here I mentioned European Research Area, I mentioned missions, but I must say that we are talking about synergies not only with Horizon Europe, but we have to talk about synergies with Erasmus Plus program. We know that skills, competencies, education, it's in part of this ecosystem. We need to talk about cohesion funds. We need to talk about our financial instruments, and some of them are completely new that we have at our disposal, and how we can bring these benefits really in our regions. And here, last example, here is coming the new European Bauhaus, because I think that here, together with our regions, we have an extraordinary chance to show that the green transition, it's a cultural, human-centered and positive experience. That's why you know that I very much continue to encourage all our regions to think about the potential of our cultural and creative sectors. And I'm very glad to say that in the resilience and recovery plans, we have a special investment funds dedicated to this area. You know that it's part of our joint action plan with the Committee of the Regions, so that will be really up to us to identify specific actions. And on this point, I'm very glad that somehow we have a very good starting point. Remember, 1 month ago, we created a common platform between the European Innovation Capitals and the European Capitals of Culture. I would like here to reiterate my message. This platform is not a closed club. This is a platform for every single region and every single city or village in Europe. We need your contribution, because only with our cooperation will transform these beautiful words into something tangible, operational, and beneficial for our citizens. So I very much look now forward to our discussion, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Vice President Cordeiro, I would like to thank you for being with us today. And Commissioner said it very clear. we want to work with you. Regions are close to the citizens. Research and innovation should reach the citizens, and research and innovation should be developed in the context of regional and local ecosystems. So different parameters there. And the recovery and the recovery plans are around us. Now, could you please tell us that what, in your view, could be the role that the regions could play, not just in the context of the recovery plans on R&I investments, but also how those R&I investments could be used for the green and digital transition in order to recovery the lives and of everybody. So what are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What we can do together?
Well, first of all, let me greet Madam Commissioner Gabrielle, your Director Panagopoulos, my fellow speakers, and everybody that is present at this third edition of the European Research and Innovation Days. And if I may say so, my job is easier right now because what a champion we have for regions and local authorities in Commissioner Gabrielle, especially pointing out the very important role that I think regions across Europe could play, not only within the context of research and innovation, but within the context of recovery. I would like to add 2 or 3 ideas that I think at this moment are fundamental. First, how could regions add something to this process? I think the first is the knowledge and the presence that regions have in some areas that are key for the development of the communities they serve. So local and regional authorities are best suited because they are, not because only they are regional and local, but because they have a better knowledge of this, of those objectives and of these needs of those communities. And also because they can have a very good mix between the idea, they can translate into local the great objectives, the major strategies, the major goals in what can make the difference in people's daily lives. So the first idea I would like to stress is that we are local and regional authorities are in the best position to combine what is massive investment in short-term measures with the long-term investment strategies. We are able to translate that to local. Second, we have several examples. We have the smart specialization strategies, which are an enabling condition for obtaining structural funds, and they are a very good instrument to combine local and regional action with the long-term strategic transformation agenda. We have examples of more than almost 200 regions across Europe have developed these strategies so they can play a key role. We have the joint research centers suggested to give the current smart specializations a fourth dimension, the sustainable dimension linked to the green transition and to the United Nations Global Sustainable Goals. And this Tuesday, on a joint initiative, the president of the Committee of the Regions and the Joint Research Center, they had established a joint initiative to test the new S4 approach. So there is a lot of work going on between local and regional authorities. But not only what comes from their competencies, you mentioned the green recovery, in some areas of the intervention of local and regional authorities, transportation, waste management, all these are areas not only that can provide the opportunity to intervene and to act, to transform the reality we have right now according to the goals we have, but also in areas, for example, education and research. In some regions across Europe, they are a regional competency. So that's why we strongly support the creation of HERA hubs, joining in the footsteps of the digital innovation hubs. So there are a lot of opportunities. But maybe the framework, if I can give you the framework where all these can happen, is the fact that regions and local authorities are best able to translate into what means in areas and in investments and in measures, in actions that are connected with the people's daily lives, the major objectives. And this is the only thing that this is one of the things that local and regional authorities can do best. That is why we strongly insist on the need of bringing local and regional authorities not only to implement the strategies, not only to put in place measures, to invest according to national or European strategies. One of the areas that is most important, the presence of local and regional authorities, is exactly on the design of those policies, on the design, on the formulation of those strategies. Because if you have the local and regional dimension at this groundwork, at this fundamental work, then you can build upon that a very much effective way of investing and a very much effective way of achieving those goals.
Thank you very much, Vice President Cordeiro. And actually, we have to work together, not just to implement, to design new initiatives, to design local-based innovation, to design the ERA hubs. I got the message, and we have to work together in order to deliver the ERA hubs. So thank you very much for this. I know that you have to leave us. I understand you're not going to stay for the whole session, but I would like to thank you for being with us today. And I'm certainly sure that our collaboration with the Committee of Regions at the top political level, but also at our operational level, will continue, will be strengthened. And I'm confident that we deliver what we jointly want to deliver. So I would like thank you. I would like now to turn to the other distinguished panel members that we have with us today. First of all, Teresa Bauer, the Minister for Science, Research and Arts in Baden-Württemberg from Germany. Tanya Christova, the Mayor of Gabrovo in Bulgaria, member of the European Committee of Regions. And last but not least, Michael Irvuyo, Regional Minister of Economic and Business Development of Navarra, member of the Committee of Regions. Good morning to everyone. I would like also to remind to the audience that following our discussion today, that they can use the Slido to place their questions, their statements, their ideas, that we will follow them, and if we have time, we will try to use some of the questions for replies from our panelists. So I would like to start with Teresia. Your region is one of the signatories of the letter sent to the heads of the EU institutions and the three of the presidencies by 9 European regions. In this letter, you express your joint commitment to contribute actively to the success of the EU recovery plan. What kind of actions can translate this political commitment into policy action?
Okay, thank you very much. Dear Commissioner, dear Vice President, and dear fellow panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, to both answer your question, dear Ms. Papadopoulou, and stress one of the key goals of our discussion today is we need further united and joint forces in Europe, and this was the key message of the letter you cited. Great challenges such as the recovery from COVID crisis require great and united responses. And this is also true for the climate crisis. Only through coordinated European action we will be able to succeed with our green and also digital transition to the future. And I'm convinced collaboration and coordination is needed between all political levels, be it EU or national or regional or local, and in all sectors, from government to business through to science and also society, and in all scientific disciplines. So let me let me stress some examples from Baden-Württemberg, and such as the great challenge I mentioned about the COVID pandemic. Let me begin with the most urgent topic of the past year, with a little warning Europe had to develop quick answers to the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic. And with more time and our perspective to today, we can say the job Europe has done in fighting COVID-19 looks continually better. Our health systems were tested but stayed strong. And Europe was a key player in the development of some of our most effective vaccines. And the fair and responsible distribution of these vaccines is continually improving, and as we catch up to the numbers of the United States and UK. And this was all possible thanks to the contributions from many different levels, from the EU down to the member states, the regions, the cities, and the municipalities. So let me give you 3 examples of how we responded in Baden-Württemberg. First, our university hospitals in Heidelberg and Mannheim joined forces with the German Cancer Research Center and the European Molecular Biology Laboratory to establish a nationwide and internationally networked SARS-CoV-2 sequencing database. Second example, we used our joint scientific expertise of our 4 university clinics in Baden-Württemberg to focus on pressing issues such as the potential spread of the disease among children and the role of aerosols in infections, along with current research into long-term effects of COVID-19. And third example, we also reached out to help our neighbors. Intensive care COVID-19 patients were transferred and cared for across borders, with cross-border cooperation between Baden-Württemberg, the French region Grand Est, and also with Rhineland-Palatinate and the Saarland. I'm sure in many of these examples, support from the EU and the national level played an important role, but these examples also show how important regional cooperation can be. And the pandemic has in many ways encouraged us in Baden-Württemberg to build even stronger regional centers in medicine and in life sciences, such as our new innovation campus in Rhine-Neckar region. Baden-Württemberg is spending 400 million euros to strengthen the health and life science network in the Heidelberg-Mannheim area. And this builds on our successful model in another area, the so-called Saiwa Valley Research Center in Stuttgart-Tübingen area, which is focused on AI research. In general, the pandemic has led to more interconnected research efforts across our region, and I'm convinced that this will have a lasting positive effect on Europe as a single market for research and innovation too. And I believe these lessons can serve as an example for the European pandemic recovery strategy in general. If we want to come out of the crisis stronger, we need to use this moment as a chance to address other challenges such as climate change and digitalization too. We need cooperation and exchange between the regional, the national, the EU level. In every region, the EU has specific strengths and weaknesses, challenges and opportunities. So funding instruments of the EU must consider these regional differences. Europe further depends on successful regional strategies themselves. For example, programs in the European Regional Development Fund, ERDF, build on smart specialization strategies for each region. We in Baden-Württemberg encourage innovation through ERDF in every part of the states through a competition. We call it Regio Win. And Regio Win helps us to give the regions with the most innovative and promising ideas support for greater transition. Baden-Württemberg, with a total of 5.6% of our state GDP invested in research and development, we support this strategy with regional and also with private funding. To sum up, Europe's regions are the key to successful Europe-wide in recovery, and we need a focused and a place-based strategy to be successful. In Baden-Württemberg, certainly look forward to using our strengths to support research initiatives such as green hydrogen, along with further research into AI, the health and life sciences, and much more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. So, COVID crisis had a very positive effect. Bring regional authorities working together to address the crisis. You gave us a very good example, and you are ready to work in the Green Deal with the green hydrogen. So my question to Tanya is, environmental threats are one of the big challenges that cities are facing right now. What can cities do to overcome this challenge and become more resilient? For example, through a synergetic use of the EU funds.
Dear Commissioner Gabriel, dear Director Panagopoulou, dear core members, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to take part in the third edition of today's flagship conference, which is dedicated on the European Research and Innovation Days. I'm really excited by the opportunity to share the virtual podium with the Commissioner, as since last November, as it was mentioned, the European Committee of the Regions has been implementing a joint action plan with Commissioner Gabriel's active contribution. Let me quickly move to the point of today's discussion and the post-COVID recovery process and the role, which is very important, of the regions and cities. I can say that this is a topic with very high importance, and many ideas and comments could be shared and will be shared, I'm sure. But I would rather start saying that at least that process should not be regarded merely as funds distribution and absorption, but mostly as a means to reach up to the transformative agenda of our territories and the whole European Union. Being regional leaders which represent local authorities, many times we are bound to take tough decisions and undertake decisive and many times unpopular actions. And this is especially relevant for the period which is now beginning of the new programming period and the next multi-annual financial framework. We have to make sure that our short-term measures of the COVID recovery are really addressing the specific needs of our territories. Since the COVID-19 impact, we have to confess that vary immensely throughout different European territories. Considering the development of our national recovery strategies, I'm afraid, but I will dare to say that I have some doubts that they really, to the full extent, reflect the territorial needs in the best, in sufficient way, especially in the view of the tight deadlines for the green and digital transition goals, which are set by the European Commission. Furthermore, national recovery strategies, and I will speak from my country's experience, often lack a proper engagement and full engagement of local and regional leaders in designing and defining the funding policies. Unfortunately, sometimes we see that spending the money quickly seems to be much more important than spending it wisely, which should be our primary objective. We also have to ensure that the massive investments, as it was said by the Vice President, in short-term measures should be linked to our long-term investment strategies in order to reach the strategic objective of the European Union, which has to allow for our carbon neutral and digital society. This is why I very much insist for a close link of the future EU policies and programs with the smart specialization strategies of our regions and for more opportunities for synergetic implementation of key European policy and programs such as Horizon missions, Horizon partnerships, the Recovery and Resilience Funds, the Cohesion Fund policy, just to mention some of them. And one final, but I consider important idea. Together with my colleagues from the Committee of the Regions and the regional associations, we propose to catalyze the recovery and reform processes by further growing and linking up regional innovation ecosystems across all Europe. It could, for instance, be taken into consideration and foreseen that pan-European networks of innovative regions could predominantly be financed by European programs, such as the new instruments like European Innovation Council and European Institute of Technology. And I will conclude with something that was mentioned by the Vice President of the Committee of the Regions. And I personally strongly support the creation of ear hubs and following the steps of the digital innovation hubs, which was announced by Maria Gabriel in a former role of a digital commissioner. Thank you for your attention, and I have to stop here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So link short-term investments with long-term strategies. Link the work of the priorities of the European programs with smart specialization. Work on the creation of the ERA hubs together with the regions. So, Miguel, Navarra is currently preparing its regional strategic plans in view of the new operational programs under the cohesion policy. What kind of synergies can you establish between the strategic plan and the recovery and resilience plans?
Hello, good morning. Thanks again for the invitation. Yes, of course, I mean, we are preparing.
Miguel, sorry, can you speak a bit louder because we cannot hear you very well?
I will try to yell a little bit. Is like this better?
It's better. It's better.
Okay, so now what I was saying, sorry for this, will be the computer. Of course, we are preparing the next financial period, but we must say it. I mean, Navarra, it's 650,000 inhabitants region. We are in the Spanish state, so and Spain has got a big amount of next generation funding and REACT funding. So now, of course, we are facing a double challenge. What is to realign, of course, in the 21-27 structural funds programming, but also, of course, I mean, we need to be ready in order to adapt and implement all the REACT, and of course, on the next generation that is still not going on, but it will be soon. And this will be an unprecedented amount of public investment for us, and especially in Spain. This means that mainly all these programs, 21-27 and next generation, REACT, wherever we mention, they are asking us to many things, but among them, perhaps the most important is transformation, this green and digital transformation. But they are also requiring us this multi-level cooperation, this multi-level governance in all the programming that we are organizing. Of course, this is European Union. And also there is one other element that perhaps this is much more reinforced in next generation, what is the public-private cooperation. So in order to answer to all these, as you know, I mean, 2015, 16, all the regions in Europe, we started this entrepreneurial discovery process. We already started this dialogue, this open dialogue within the triple helix, this administration, public administration, technology and education, and also industry. And we, together with all of them, we already drafted our priorities as a region. And of course, this meant how to organize regionally and locally our ecosystems and align, of course, them with the European initiatives, programs, and networks. This is what we call the smart specialization strategy. The smart specialization strategy is much more than just a paper in which we just settle the priorities. It's the real document.
We cannot hear you very well again. If you can go closer to the microphone, please.
You will see my face too close.
Yes, that's the problem.
I'm sorry, I will try to tell more, but what I was saying is that the smart specialization strategy just offers this really coordination, this real coordination of the whole ecosystem. Is for the first time ever in Europe that every single region is really having this locally well coordination of the ecosystem, this well locally organized dialogue of the multi-level governance. What is really important is that this doesn't stop locally. This doesn't stop in each region. What we really need is that this smart specialization is used by all of us, by all of the regions, in order to create this really European value chains. So we are really, we were fighting hard for this I3, the Interregional Innovation Investment, but it's more than that. It's much more than that. What we would like to see is to see the smart specialization strategy as a clue policy, multi-level governance policy in every single programming that is launched by the European Commission. This means the digital program, of course, in all this research and development strategies and initiatives, because as I said, smart specialization is the perfect governance system. So it is nothing that we have best at this moment. So for us, this is the best way in order to create synergies and in order to create good governance across Europe. And sorry for the good, not very good sign.
Thank you very much, Miguel. We have only 8 minutes left, but I would like to take a couple of questions of the slide law and then to give the floor to our commissioner for the takeaways of this discussion. So my first question may be to you, Teresia. In your view, how can it be ensured that the recovery will be sustainable and inclusive, leaving no one behind?
Thank you very much for this question. I think it's important to get people engaged and convinced about the goals of these missions. People have to participate, be part of the mission. And so I'm convinced that regions play a crucial role in the success of the missions because it's the regions who are the direct link between civil society and the political level and also the local companies. And I think that's the main condition for a sustainable success, because we need policy linked to the ground and not only top-down strategies. They won't work in the long run. So I'm convinced we need this approach to realize some outreach to citizens and the engagement of all relevant stakeholders. And this can also be realized on the ground, in the regions and in the cities. For one example, we established some so-called living labs. More than a dozen living labs, we call it in Baden-Württemberg Reallabore, in our region, to bring together citizens, researchers and industry and to work and to co-develop solutions for tomorrow. I think that's important, to get people engaged and being part of the mission and the search for solutions. I think that's the most important thing. And second idea is to establish strategic dialogues between the different sectors. We have to work together and to cooperate between sectors of science, policy, civil society and companies. And this is kind of new effort for our policy instruments, because we have to leave the silos.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Teresia. Tanya, I have one question for you. How will some of the surprising benefits of the pandemic going to be captured in the regions and cities, in particular, a lower mobility approach to work?
I think that COVID-19 pandemic brought also some positive impacts on the citizens and on the regions. And one of the issue in my understanding is the fact that we became much more aware about the green and digital transformation and the understanding of our citizens that everybody is important and that everybody should participate in this process. And I would like to give one example from my city, because last year we were announced as the European Green Leaf city, which provided us with the opportunities to work very closely with citizens, especially in the different policy levels concerning the green awareness. And even today and tomorrow, we are having days on climate and energy, and many people and experts are in a dialogue about this very inspiring policy, which should affect and actually improve the life of everybody. And digitalization, I think we, thanks to the crisis, managed to learn for a very short period how to use these new technologies, but not just a technology for its own sake, but for the benefits of our community, of our education. We probably must put more serious efforts to get on board our elderly and vulnerable people. But I believe that every crisis has an opportunity, and we have to seize it and to translate the measures into understandable projects which definitely involve different types of citizens, and of course justifies the important role of local authorities, because we are on an everyday basis talking and being together with the citizens, and it is our obligation to work with them and for them.
Thank you very much, Tanya. So 3 minutes left. I would like to have the pleasure to go back to my commissioner to tell us what are her takeaways. What do you think that we hear today and what we have to do next?
Thank you very much, Anna, distinguished panelists. First of all, thank you very much for showing us again how, based on your experience, we can not only talk about breaking the working silo, but how together we can join forces and we can have positive benefits for our citizens. First of all, for me at least, I will take and I will insist on 3 main points. Thank you for sharing with us your experience, what's happened during the crisis. I think that our first point is let's build on some of the main lessons learned thanks to the experience of our regions. And here, Minister Bauer, it's great that you have concrete examples how research can save lives, how research can help prevention and improve the health system. But here, for me, it's important that we have infrastructures for access to this everywhere in Europe. So I think that we should continue really to use the good practices to promote the cooperation between regions where they have the necessary tools, but at the same time to use the resilience and recovery facility plans, Horizon Europe, the other programs that we have at our disposal to make the access to these possibilities possible for all our regions. The second message for me, it's clear that without regions, in the face of co-design and co-creation, that will be impossible to achieve our ambitions. That's why, for me, it's really important that we continue to look very closely at our recovery and resilience plans. What I mean, for example, you said it, it's obvious the contribution of regions to the missions, to the partnerships. But our first analysis, for example, shows that there is only 5 countries that have chosen the option to transfer money to partnerships. Why not the 20 others, 22 others? We need to raise voice. We need really to spread the information, and it will be up to you, together with us, to see how we can improve things. The same, we have smart specialization strategies, and I fully agree with what was said about the region of Navarra. My question here is, it's not only a work for DG Regio and DG R&I. It's true that we need to integrate this in other policies, but we need your voices, your experience, and your concrete examples on how to do it. Third point, It's not only about lessons learned, it's not only about co-design and co-creation, it's about real follow-up and real implementation. And here is coming the added value of your approach. You have an ecosystem approach, you have a holistic approach, and that's why we need really to pay attention to every single element. Yes, the mayor of Gabrovo told us during the crisis, we have seen that we don't need technologies only for technology purposes. We need that in order to provide skills, in order to transform the knowledge on technologies into high qualified jobs, into perspectives for our concrete perspectives for our citizens and for our startups, for our companies, for our regions. So I think that here what is really important is always to have this holistic approach. And that's why, again, we need you, our regions, in the resilience and recovery facility plans to see how the proposed investments and reforms have and can preserve this inclusive and holistic approach. One example, when I look at the proposals of our member states on research, I'm not only looking on their proposal on how to improve the support for fundamental research, I'm looking about the transformation of the results of fundamental research into the industry world, how we can join efforts, how we can innovate. When we talk about education, we don't have to pay only attention to higher education institutions. We have to see what's happened in early childhood. So I think that here, together with us, we have not an easy task, but we have to continue together to follow this very closely, and that's why that's my plea. Don't hesitate to continue to share with us your experience, continue to be vocal on some of the necessary innovations. And yes, thank you very much for always reminding us how important is the ecosystem approach. From my side, a very personal note, thank you very much, Mayor of Gabrovo, for the support for the European innovation ecosystem. I fully believe that we need this European innovation ecosystem. For that, we have to continue to tackle some of the main challenges, like the fragmentation or the need to preserve and to give chances to our talents to choose to be in our European regions. And for that, I'm sure that only if we continue to work together, we can succeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear Commissioner. Thank you, dear panelists. I think Commissioner Gabriel said all. She is committed to work with the region, so we are committed to continue to work with you to deliver the recovery which matters for the European citizens across Europe, across regions, at all member states, in all cities. Thank you very much for your nice discussion we had today. Looking forward to continue our discussion in the future. Thank you and bye-bye.
J'essaierai d'abord de sélectionner les projets d'innovation les plus productifs à long terme, essayer de sortir de cette dynamique du court terme. Et je crois que justement, si un truc que l'Europe peut donner, c'est justement des politiques à long terme.
J'ouvrirai peut-être des nouveaux parcs où les citoyens pourront eux aussi venir cultiver peut-être leurs fruits.
Aider les producteurs locaux, les fermiers, par exemple mettre plus de taxes pour les produits importés, faire des formations et les rendre plus accessibles, enfin apprendre le jardinage, l'agriculture dans les écoles.
Améliorer aussi les conditions de travail dans les hôpitaux. Il faut peut-être redessiner les aides à la culture, encourager la créativité en améliorant l'enseignement et en proposant des nouvelles formations.